Hey, Randy. Hey, I'm back.
Okay.
So yeah, let's start this now. Welcome to the show. By the way,
Oh, thanks.
uh, how are you today? By the way.
I'm doing pretty well, Chris. It's cold and snowy here in Pennsylvania.
Oh wow, here it's snowing like hell.
Yeah.
Um, mm, by the way, in case anybody that has never heard of Randy, he has his own radio show, OffPlanet Radio. You have many guests, and including Duncan O'Finian and a bunch of other people, as far as and have all kinds of stories like the extraterrestrial, all kinds of uh, phenomena, paranormal, right?
Yeah. Basically, we examine everything from UFOs and extraterrestrials to deep conspiracy, politics, paranormal phenomena. Yeah, pretty much the entire lunch bag.
Wow. And that one is radio.offplanetmedia.net.
Yeah, you can just hit offplanetradio.com's easiest way to get there.
Mm-hmm. So I even see Duncan O'Finian. Um, when was the last time you talked to him? Was it very recently? Because this one looks like a.
On the record, obviously there's an interview online on the website right now. That is an interview that Duncan and I did a couple of weeks ago.
Oh,
I
wow.
talk to him pretty routinely on a personal level, but a lot of that doesn't translate out into what you and I can talk about on this show today. But it's a
Yeah.
good place for people to go if they want to go over to offplanetradio.com. There's a video interview there between Duncan and I.
Yeah, and it's very familiar because even on Facebook, he has his own Facebook. He has the the guts he has the balls to just go and tell his story, no matter what, and he's as honest as he can. I talked to him, and it's very legit. One of the things I can remember is that when one of his status, he said that with the Hadron, the particle accelerator, basically Large Hadron Collider, it's something about like making like a hole into like whether it's something related to hell in a way that even though they're legit as far as scientific experiments, them and the New World Order, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it, they're like trying to get to the lowest levels of, if you could understand what I'm trying to say.
Well, let me explain a little bit about that. Back in 2009, when I first began interviewing Duncan, he began to talk about the Large Hadron Collider at CERN in Switzerland and what was in fact going on there. And just as some background, Duncan has also explained let's say the structure of the ruling elite, which many people go by the idea that there are 13 elite ruling families, and there's some truth to that, but at the top of the food chain, there's actually three. Of those three families, two are at war and one is in the middle. So the middle family, which is the group that Duncan is associated with, which is a council, has identified that, in fact, the Large Hadron Collider is designed to be deployed to open up we'll call it a gateway or a portal, which is to allow very monstrous, dark spiritual entities to come into the planet. This is designed basically to bring on what I guess a lot of people would refer to as a biblical Armageddon.
Oh wow. And as far as the Large Hadron Collider, one of the families, aren't they the Rothschilds, or are the people above them?
Well, the people that the people whose names that you see, those are the foot soldiers of the real elites on the planet. The people behind the scenes are hidden. They're not publicly disclosed. These are families whose roots go back not hundreds but thousands of years. And in fact, what they actually really are, on one level or another, are what you might call the fallen angels or the Anunnaki. They are the descendants of those ancient entities. And these are families that have ruled over the planet for thousands of years. And our records, going back 6,000, 7,000 years to certainly the period of Sumeria, Babylon, the ancient cultures, Phoenician culture, which predated the modern civilizations, which you would know as probably Babylon, Greece, Rome. But these families have been here for, in fact, tens of thousands of years, if not longer.
Oh wow. So which are the three families that, besides the fallen angels, that are calling the shots? Or just
I'm sorry, say that again. I quite hear you.
Which are the families that are behind the scenes that you don't hear about besides the Anunnaki? Because I even see pictures of Anunnaki. It looks like some guy with a very weird face, but a bunch of like huge.
Well, let me say this. Much like it is with the extraterrestrial phenomenon, we have this cartoon images of things. If you were to encounter them, unless you're very sharp, unless you have the ability to, let's say, look a little closer, in all likelihood, these people would look, for all intents and purposes, rather normal. They would look rather human. They might be larger. They might have larger eyes. They may have very slitted eyes. Some of them have reptilian bloodlines as well. But it's not like the comic book imagery that most people think about when they think about these ancient fallen angels and the ruling elite families who are correctly attributed as being of reptilian origin or coming from the Anunnaki.
Wow, this is deep. I had no idea that there could be something like the Anunnaki. I thought it was mostly just, like Dr. Rima said, it's people above the 13 families, above the Bilderberg group, who are no affiliation to religion, no affiliation to country, no affiliation to any kind. And I tried.
Well, that part of it's actually true. They don't have an alliance that's of this world. So it goes beyond country. It goes beyond races as we know them. These are intelligences, entities, beings that have been here for a very long time, and they are not from here.
Oh wow! So how could you say that the Anunnaki or any other families that rule? How can the people, like even listeners, how could they even look this up? How could they find out any form of this? How could they find out about it? Because they would probably think, you're incredibly.
Well, you could begin at the basic level with books that you can find anywhere. One of them is called the Bible. A lot of this is actually written inside the lines of the Bible. If you look very closely at Genesis chapter 6, and if you look into the book of Enoch, which isn't in the Bible but is directly related to it, you're going to begin to see the war that came to the planet as a result of the mixture of bloodlines between what are called fallen angels and the sons and daughters of humanity. And that actually is the beginning of this ancient war that has raged on the planet. Human beings were created in a very distinct manner in the image of Creator, however you identify that. I'm not religious, by the way. So I'm just trying to point you to some factoids here that we can agree on. Man was created as a very unique creation in the image of Source. And that's in almost all of the major religions that you will find this. There has been, for as long as humanity has been on the earth, there has been a battle for the human souls because they are a very unique identity. And this planet, the races of this planet, the created beings that we call humans, have been the subject of incredible warfare on every level: biological, psychological, sexual, economic. On every level of being, humanity has been pillaged, looted, and plundered in order to bring them into control because of the fact that we are the image of God, and we are therefore what correctly could be stated to be gods ourselves.
Oh wow! So that means, this probably makes like the new world order Illuminati. This makes it look like nothing compared to what really is behind the scenes.
Well, the Illuminati is actually a lot of smoke and mirrors, Chris. It's not that they don't exist. They do exist, but the illusion is that somehow these people are all powerful and greater than us. They're not. And in fact, the fear that they live in right now, Chris, is the fact that a lot of us are waking up. A lot of us are really kind of picking up on the game that's been played for a long time. Humanity's consciousness is beginning to kick in. A lot of people are waking up. You can see this, things like 9/11, the Kennedy assassination, Sandy Hook. Name any of the big events, and people are looking behind it now. They're waking up because they know that everything's contrived. So we're not being controlled, except that we have stepped away from who we are created to be, which is we are all powerful beings ourselves.
And we have all kinds of abilities, and I keep hearing this about the third eye and stuff like that. I even had Joe Ago on the show, and he's all about the spirituality and aura and something about the third eye, and he's all into that stuff, and he believes he can move clouds with his mind and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh, that's level 1 exercises, in my opinion. Yeah, no, we totally have the ability to do that. The opening of the third eye is related to the pineal gland, and the third eye is basically that's another war that's been waged against us. You probably know this. It's why, for instance, they put fluoride in the water. It's why they've biologically altered us, and why they've GMO'd our food sources, because, like I said before, the third eye activation is a component of the ascension of human consciousness that enables us to begin to see behind the illusions that we've been fed for thousands of years, the lie that somehow we're this poor, pathetic, naked ape creature walking the planet, and that there's all these other beings above us.
Well, so what exactly is supposed to be the real truth on that one, as far as like what humanity has been taught? Humanity has been taught that you can't get rid of diseases, which most likely isn't true. The body gets rid of them, or there's actually natural ways you can do it. It's just that there's very powerful people that make sure that you don't know that, and they will suppress that. Talked to a bunch of people off air that could confirm that, and they're prosecuted. Some people even leave the country. So what humanity was meant to be is I think, in my opinion, I believe that we should all be in space. No excuses. It's just that we're not run by a system that wants that. At least not for everybody, just for themselves. But I believe that we should all be maybe going to Mars in a few years. Not even. I think we should be there already.
I don't think, well, I'll disagree with you on this. Here's why. This is our planet. We were given dominion over it, and it was stolen from us. We really don't need to go anywhere else. We need to take back our own planet. We need to take back our power as human beings, and then we need to kick all these bastards off of the planet. Let them go to Mars. I was born here. It's my planet. I have the blood that runs through my veins that is native to this planet. I'm not in favor of humanity going into space, except for reasons of simply having a really, really cool trip somewhere.
I would like to, in my opinion, go to space and have immortality, have all kinds of superhuman strength, and I'm not too sure about the AI, just keep it small, I guess. But as far as I would like to have super intelligence and all that, not just me, but everybody. But everybody has their own opinions.
Brother, you have super intelligence. And as we begin to wake up on this planet, we're going to find out that everything that you just listed there, that's all stuff that's been suppressed out of us. Well,
Wow.
it's latent in the human being. If you go back and you look at some of the ancient mythologies about Samson, the mythologies about Hercules, Thor, the gods, we have all the abilities that we need once we throw off the oppressors on this planet, which is what we were talking about and going into this subject, talking about, for instance, Duncan's work. Let's go back and talk about that for a minute. MK Ultra, super soldier programs, and artificial intelligence, and what all this points to, because it goes exactly to what you just brought up, Chris. There have been attempts by governments of the world to hybridize human beings, believing that the only way that humanity can be so-called better machine is if we somehow hybridize it. If we create super soldiers, if we create artificial intelligence, if we merge man into a machine intelligence. That's the myth that's being sold to people, especially in the alternative media today, is this idea that somehow we need to be changed biologically. What we need to do is we need to get back to what we were created to be. In order to do that, we need to take back the planet, because we need clean air, pure foods, pure water. We need the nutrients essential to build our bodies from birth as children, and we need to also begin to advance our own DNA replication to a place where we extend our genetics beyond the mere 4 strands that we presently exhibit.
So why would it be bad to have all kind of merge with machines, etc.? I don't want to disrespect Duncan in any way, but I don't think it's the worst idea. As long as it helps humanity, I think people should do it by choice, just not be forced to. Don't force everybody. If you want to do whatever you want with your own body, like you said before, but just don't force us all to do it.
The problem with AI, and look, we're sitting here talking on computers right now. I've been around computers as long as there's been computers, and I love technology. I like my mobile phone. I like my computers. I like everything about them. But the bottom line is that you cannot merge human consciousness into a silicon chip. That's not what was designed to happen. The government, people like Ray Kurzweil who talk about this, are basically trying to control humanity by placing their consciousness, which is the seed to who we are, into a silicone wafer and giving us the illusion that that will make us more advanced, when in fact we already are advanced, and all that we need to do is to pull ourselves out of this dumbed down shell that we've been in as a result of the manipulation for thousands of years on this planet.
Wow. So isn't AI more like a mind of its own, and it can take over humanity? Even Stephen Hawking warned that AI could be the end of humanity.
Well, here again, we bought into a lot of lies of science. And look, there's nothing wrong with science on a legitimate level. But science is not the end-all, be-all of everything. What we are, Chris, is we're spiritual beings. And all of that's been hidden and suppressed from us as well. All of our religions have basically hidden the truth from us, to the point where most people now have no idea who they are or where they came from or what the source of their being is. People don't know what's going to happen to them when they supposedly die, for instance. So somebody like Stephen Hawking or Ray Kurzweil are simply pointing us to the idea that we need to be hybridized into machines to become what we would naturally be if we had not been suppressed. This is probably the biggest conspiracy theory on the planet.
Oh. But as far as humans, how can... So I keep thinking this pineal gland thing. Somebody, even Joe actually told me that something about ayahuasca, or it could be certain drugs, probably not to condone drugs, but if people could just take control of their body, certain kinds of drugs could probably release the pineal gland or something like that.
Well, drugs, let's make a separation here. Drugs are what they feed us. Drugs are the products of the pharmaceutical companies. Drugs are the chemicals that have been produced since the beginning of the 20th century. And that was an initiative that was taken on by the Rockefellers, who basically created the entire petroleum-based pharmaceutical industry. When we talk about ayahuasca, cannabis, psilocybin mushrooms, peyote, the herbal drugs that are part of the earth, we're not talking about drugs anymore. We're talking about organic botanical keys that can help us to open up our consciousness. Now, I don't promote the use specifically of things like ayahuasca. I've never done ayahuasca, so but I haven't. I've used
brew or anything. I kind of wish I could try it. What is?
Oh yeah, no. I would probably open myself up to doing that as well. I've not had the opportunity to do it. That said, I've done peyote, I've done psilocybin mushrooms a number of times, and I endorse the use of cannabis for purposes of medicinal healing and even for day-to-day use to ease stress and things like that. These are not drugs. These are products of the earth. They were given to us. It even says that in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, the book of Revelation. So, those aren't drugs, and there are things that can help us open up our consciousness. But, a good breathing exercise, a good lap around the track, sitting down and meditating, going out and doing a discipline such as martial arts, these are all ways that we can work through our body to begin to activate these things as well.
Oh, wow. So, I kind of would want to try some of this stuff, but the thing is, like, in this country, it's very hard to, it's like outlawed. But as far as what do you have to say on narcotics like meth or cocaine? Can that be used for medicine in a way?
I was around cocaine in the late 70s and the early 80s. I lived in New York City for a while, and I was around people who were doing a lot of coke.
Wall Street does it.
These are manufactured drugs. I mean, cocaine in its purest form is a medicinal substance that probably has some use, but refined cocaine, the street stuff, that's just in my opinion stupid. I mean, that's basically like putting very high octane gas into your car and then going out and burning the cylinders. The human body's not able to process it at an appropriate level. There are medicinal uses for cocaine, there are medicinal uses for morphine. But what happens if you do too much morphine? You wind up a junkie and you wind up dead. Any drug that's manufactured, meth specifically is probably a good example, Chris, is just pure poison. I mean, all meth ever was a cheap way to get drugs on the street to make money. And don't forget that the biggest pushers of drugs on the planet is the United States government, specifically the CIA and the various agencies who use it to run black budgets.
They do. You think they don't do cocaine? They do it. It's just behind the scenes. But they're immune for any legality, so they won't get arrested.
Well, of course. Well, it's been said that Bill Clinton was probably one of the biggest cokeheads that ever sat in the government. I mean, we know that George H.W. Bush was a cokehead as well at one point in his life. That said, those are drugs. They're what I call body drugs. They are not gateways to expansion of consciousness. They're gateways to simply addict the body.
Oh, some of the stuff. There's even. It's very well. You won't find videos where somebody will show how to make cocaine. It's still on YouTube, believe it or not. This is not even my content. Well, I'm not. My disclaimer is that I'm not condoning or anything, but you can find online, and while the SEC doesn't kill the internet yet, that how cocaine's made, and I saw that they try to brew it, and it's so much hard work, and they go through so much trouble trying to get the cocaine. But it originally came from like coca leaves. Now coca leaves, I don't hate coca leaves. The Bolivians don't.
No, if you go to Peru and you want to go up the mountains, you're given cocoa leaves to chew on because it helps to alleviate altitude sickness. It's a natural form of the cocoa plant.
Oh. But
So, yeah, absolutely.
very
Look,
few places
if
you
it
probably
comes
try
from
that.
nature, if it was green, if it was in the ground, if it's something that hasn't been altered chemically, then the odds are it has an appropriate use as a medicine, as a drug, as something to heal, shamanic, botanical. It's when men in white coats in laboratories begin to synthesize it and change it that then we get to the part where it becomes toxic.
Wow. So it's just, and it's also the law and legality and stuff, because I believe it all starts from ignorance. You know, if you're ignorant about drugs or guns or weed or whatever, you're gonna vote ignorant people in the office, and then those people are gonna make legislation to make it more stricter and have more gun control, etc. So it starts by one person, regular person, because they don't go in by themselves. So things we have to change that. But at the moment, there's more money made from just for raids against drugs, and there probably no way to defend yourself against a
Well,
drug raid.
how very
But
convenient that the same government that outlaws certain types of weapons, that outlaws
they have it. They do it
cer-
themselves.
certain types of drugs, schedule 2, schedule 3 drugs, also deals in them. I mean, they flood the drugs on the street, they addict people, they make a ton of money, then they sweep them up, put them into the courts, convict them, put them into private prison systems where they then are used as slave labor to make money for the same people that were making money
Yeah,
off of
from
them
stocks.
when they
Private
were on the
companies
street.
that have stocks in the jails. More prisoners, more money.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
the,
by the way,
the entire court system is a banking
yeah,
system.
definitely kangaroo court, etc. Speaking about coca leaves, in Bolivia not too long ago, is something called coca brinco. It's a kind of product. It looks more like a. It looks like a Sprite in a way. The concept of the Sprite plastic bottle, but it's made of coca leaves. But pretty much it's only available in Bolivia. Not in the U.S. though. Bolivia, yes. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I haven't heard of that. What I do know is that if you want a can of Coca-Cola that's made with real sugar and not with aspartame, which is a neurotoxin, you're going to have to go to Canada, because here in the United States, they want us to drink neurotoxins.
But does it taste a little different, the coca real sugar? Or it tastes much better?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a big taste in it. Using high fructose corn syrup, for instance, rather than real sugar. And I mean, we're now at the point where sugar itself, refined white sugar, isn't all that particularly good for you. But
Sounds
with the
amazing.
influx of high fructose corn syrups and artificial sweeteners and everything, all of a sudden, sugar's looking awful good these days to people. See, that's how they dumb us down constantly. They give you rat poison and they say, okay, we'll back off the rat poison this much. We'll take enough to kill you and we'll back it off a little bit. That's basically the way the criminal syndicates that run the governments, all of them around the world, operate on a daily basis.
Some countries, they're not necessarily in the New World Order. Some countries have their sovereignty, like Cuba or Iran or Russia, and Syria, what's left of it. They still have their sovereignty. There are very few countries in the world that have their sovereignty. And even if they could probably have sovereignty and want to not go against the New World Order, they don't have military capability to prevent invasion. So it has to be if it has to be a country that's very. It would have to be very, either very big or very armed. Russia being the biggest. Iran that has millions of people that have guns, etc. So, am I right or?
It's a complex subject.
Which country has
There
the
are,
sovereignty? Which
well,
country?
let's just, you have some small nation states, and you can identify them because they're ones that have either been conquered or are scheduled to be conquered by the U.S.
Apparently, if you're Goldman Sachs executive, this one I've heard, Goldman Sachs executives are like they're chosen to be leaders of certain countries. I don't know if it's South America, Central South America. Is that true?
Probably.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. If they're not chosen to be the leaders, they're certainly buying off the people who are going to be the candidates.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you go read John Perkins' Confessions of an Economic Hitman, you'll find out exactly how all of this works, because he tells you what happened specifically with South American countries where they simply went in, they got the guy elected, they bought him off, and if he balked, he basically wound up, 6 feet under the ground with his feet sticking up, because once they buy you, they own you.
And they also have such thing as like sleeper cells around the countries, around the world. So there's hardly any place to run. There could be Russian ones in the U.S., U.S. ones in Russia. It's very tough to even.
You can't run from this until the best of humanity wakes up and realizes that we're all connected, and then begins to operate as honorable human beings with, I'll use the term love here, but I don't mean it the way it's understood, because it's actually a force field. But until the best of humanity wakes up, knows who they are, and begins to take back their institutions, beginning with their families, because that's where we're being conquered first, we won't need to run anymore. We're not supposed to be running from these people. They're supposed to be running from us, which is kind of where I was going when you talked about, we should get off planet and go somewhere else. My argument is it's our planet. We need to kick the vermin off of this planet and take back every aspect of our societies, from our families to our governments to our ability to make a living and live healthy on the world.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Some of the stuff I even didn't get to go in detail. What's the difference between spirituality, metaphysics, paranormal? You were saying about the consciousness. But what about metaphysics and paranormal? Paranormal, I think there could be such thing. It's not like I don't believe necessarily that there, you could do stuff with your mind. I think you can do stuff with your mind, but it's just that I'm very skeptical on that one.
I think you should be skeptical of everything. I think skepticism is very healthy. Just for some definitions, metaphysics really is, well, the word itself tells you. It is, we have physics, which is the natural forces of the world. Metaphysics has to do with the way we function in relationship to our spiritual capabilities, how we understand the spirit realms. And there's a lot of woo-woo around it, but quite frankly, most people on some level understand that they are more than their body walking around. They're more than biology. They have a soul. They have a spirit. They've come from something larger than themselves. So metaphysics is basically the examination of that. Paranormal, and it's an unfortunate word, is really understanding events that are supposedly outside the, quote, normal, unquote, events of human experience. In other words, ghosts, apparitions, anything that is out of what's called normal is paranormal. And this all just kind of bleeds into each other at different points in time, because all religions are based on metaphysical paranormal experiences as well. Whether you believe in Muhammad being taken off of the mountain on his horse, or the resurrection and ascension of Jesus Christ, or the Buddha, or any of the pantheon of the gods of the Hindu religion, they're all based on metaphysics and paranormal activity.
Oh. And somebody told me that you should like train, look in the mirror or something like that, straight in the mirror, etc. I'm skeptical on that one, but it takes many years to really accomplish something, apparently.
Actually, it takes you a lot of years to remember it. You knew this as a child growing up. Children are very close to the spirit realm because they operate in a mind state that's very close to what we call it alpha. We call it alpha state. An alpha state is where your brainwave activity scales down below normal, everyday, going around doing stuff rate. And when you go from alpha down into theta and delta states of mind, you're actually beginning to access the original mind, which was this mind that goes into the spirit realm. So you can develop it, and there's all kinds of disciplines to do it, but the simple answer is we were born very close to our original spiritual roots. And what happened was we got mind controlled as we grew up. We were told we had to go somewhere, be something, do something, grow up, get a job, have a family, earn money, and eventually die on cue. So all of the activity that's sandwiched in between birth and death is all beta wave activity. And then that period where you let down and relax, whether you smoke weed or whether you meditate, or if you take some time right before you go to sleep at night, you'll begin to tap into that. But really, to tap into into the spiritual, it's just a matter of accessing the part of your mind that you never use.
Wow. That's interesting. So recently, in your perspective, what do you think is going on in the New World Order? So in general, they're failing, obviously, where the people are starting to wake up. But what's some things that are happening, like right now as we speak? While people are watching sports and doing whatever, the country's being destroyed immediately. But what is going on as we speak? Do you think? I think they're trying to make a run for it.
I'm probably the worst. I'm probably the worst person in the world to ask that question to, because I only watch news at a distance. I almost never watch any news on television. I get a little bit of headline news looking at different websites, but on a day-to-day basis, I don't concern myself with the events that they're reporting, because those events are all fabricated anyway. It doesn't matter what the news is. Now, as a pattern, what's been going on, what is going on is that, what we call the New World Order is failing. Unfortunately, it was designed to fail, and that's actually part of the plan as well. So, we don't want to get too high on ourselves here, because, quite frankly, the New World Order is designed to fail. It's called Order Out of Chaos.
It's stupid because the same people who promoted them, who are the closest, are the ones that are gonna get killed.
Yeah, well, that's called collateral damage in their world. They're not worried about it. Remember, those families sitting at the top of the pyramid, they're not real worried about it either, because nobody knows who they are. And the rulers, the elites, here's where they are wrong. And they've got things figured out to the point where they figure they're just going to go into their underground bunkers and sit out Armageddon. It's not going to happen that way. There are forces on the planet. They're spiritual forces. They're forces that I will call extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional entities that are working to basically help humanity through this difficult period of time. What is going on right now is the failure of an economic system. The economic system of the West is unsustainable. The debt load that's been placed on the people of the Western world, specifically Europe and the United States, cannot be sustained. It can never be paid back. And the only thing that could resolve that would be to have a jubilee year, forgive all debts, and reset the currency, which is what a number of people are doing right now.
Unless you have a world war, they don't want that to happen. Countries like Russia, I think is, I like Russia. I like Putin, and Iran and even China. In a way, they're our last hopes, because after they want to get through with Syria, they're gonna go after Iran. But Iran and Russia are working together. I don't know this agreement that they want to make with the U.S., which is, I think it's just BS. Obama's a puppet, period. Whatever, I don't care. But do you think that they're like the last hopes? Come on, who's going to mess with Russia now?
I'd prefer not to call it a last hope. I think right now, what you're talking specifically, let's just call it the BRICS alignment, which is basically a series of economic consortiums. Is it a hope? Yeah, it is, because it's the one thing that we've got right now to compete against the U.S. petrodollar and the toxic debt that we flooded. I place no hope in governments. I mean, on the surface, Vladimir Putin looks like probably the best leader on the planet right now. I mean, we would even hope to have somebody with the stones that this guy has in the White House. We certainly don't have that right now. What we've got is a traitor. But I don't put my faith in the governments. The people have to stop putting their faith in the governments, Chris. They have to put their faith in themselves. They have to be the force behind their governments. The government should work for them. The people should not be working for their governments. And the people should not be exploited for money. Money should simply be a means of exchange, not the means by which nations are enslaved. So the answer is that yes, right now, there's some shining light there. Are they the ultimate hope, the last hope? No, I don't think so. I think the only last hope is going to be us when we wake up.
What about the aliens? Because, like, you know, it's not like they exist, definitely, but because there's no way we're like the only species or life force on Earth. But why can't aliens just come? As long as they're friendly, that is. But I think they could help us out. But like people, it's rare to see an alien to begin with. There's hardly all we saw recently is a solar eclipse. Some people think that could be a sign or something. But if you think that the aliens could help us, how come we can't see them? How come they won't come?
You know that I've done interviews for years on this subject, and the one thing I can tell you I came away with is there's good and bad in everything. So the extraterrestrials, the extra-dimensional beings, which do exist and are among us, and they're in our skies, and they're walking around among us, are they helping us? The positives clearly are. Yeah, but you got to understand something. Humanity needs to stand up for itself. The old Star Trek thing of non-interference, the idea that we would expect other races to come in and help us, that's not gonna do it. The help that we're getting right now is largely in terms of information. Certain technologies are being selectively released. There are very clearly interactions to keep humanity from going nuclear. We've had UFO flyovers that have shut down nuclear missiles. So we've seen it. I also believe that they are working right now to mitigate Fukushima, the damage that was done in the Gulf of Mexico. But ultimately, nothing, not aliens, not gods, not Jesus Christ returning to Earth himself, is what's going to save humanity. Humanity was put here to walk on their own 2 feet, and they have to wake up. They have to get to the place where they understand who they are, and they need to learn to live in peace and equity with each other.
By the way, as far as the Fukushima, what do you think about it? Is it like an inside job that they planned that to happen and it happened? They want to destroy Japan. The powers that the ones that are in charge, really in charge, they're in charge of like practically every country, and Japan, even though they're allowed to have the technology the U.S. can't have, since they're like 10 years above the U.S. The U.S. I believe that the U.S. is not allowed to have this technology. They want to destroy the U.S. and God knows what to the U.S. as we speak. But what happened in Fukushima, I've been told by high level that something about an order, like we ordered Japan to do something, and Japan, some people did not want to listen to US, so we gave them the earthquake. We gave them the Japanese earthquake. That was man-made. Weather weapons exist. Earthquakes can exist. A heart attack can exist. It's not an accident or natural. You can actually kill somebody and make it look like an accident. That's a heart attack.
The best,
CIA.
the best argument. Sorry, I talked over you there. Go ahead.
And so then, Fukushima and probably Katrina, Superstorm Sandy, that was probably man-made. It's just that it's like humanity is almost indoctrinated to believe that everything, how the books go, there's no such cure for any diseases. They believe in too much conventionality, but they don't think outside the box. That's what I think. You know.
You can go back to the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami and look at that, and that's a pattern for all the weather war that's been going on in the planet. Of course, Fukushima was man that was committed against Japan, but in one sense, it was also committed against us, the Americans, because the fallout is now hitting the shores of the United States. The radiation has been drifting in, and yeah, I mean, it was almost there's a tectonic plate there that was used to generate a tsunami, which then went in and took out the nuclear plant. The level of negligence that took place there, in terms of the companies that are running the nuclear plant, I mean, these people have been willfully negligent. There's no way you're going to turn this around. I mean, it is probably the most horrific nuclear disaster of our lifetimes. It's worse than Hiroshima and Nagasaki in that regard. So, yeah, Japan got nuked for the third time.
Oh man, and people keep saying that. Oh yeah, it's natural. You know, there's no such thing as the government trying to destroy a country. Oh boy, you got no idea, buddy. You got absolutely no idea. And so, I've been reading around on the Fukushima, and something about Israel. Since Israel, I'm not saying Israel is this or that, but some kind of Israeli, some kind of virus hacked into the Fukushima computers and messed everything up. But it would have to connect to Israel or something like that. That's a theory, though.
Yeah, they're all theories. Look, the militaries and intelligence agencies of the Western nations all work together. I mean, the idea that, and this even goes, frankly, to the Russian KGB. I mean, we got to be careful about pronouncing all goodness upon the Russian government. The intelligence agencies are all connected. So MI5, CIA, the NSA, Mossad, they all work together.
And I've even had, he's a cool guy. I had Victor Ostrovsky. He was a former Mossad agent. He kept going with this conventionalities that the Mossad would never do this. I'm like, maybe in his era they wouldn't do it, but now to deny to not acknowledge that the CIA would kill somebody with a heart attack gun, to just say that's just bull, it's just stupid. No, we have to stop with that conventionality. Yes, it is happening, but we have to face that. We don't like to face the bad truth. And here's that one I was telling you about from thetruthseeker.co.uk. You better have this article in case somebody listens and this article is not available. Fukushima was destroyed by Israel via two planted nuclear weapons and the Stuxnet virus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that too.
You could ask Duncan some of these questions because he probably has. He may be far out there, but he could probably have more intel on this. And it's just that people don't ask. He always says just ask if you don't know something. Ask him directly. If the next time you talk to him, you know him personally, ask him about some of these weird questions because he might know a lot more. And the rabbit hole goes so deep. You have no idea. I've been told it's worse than you could think of or imagine. And I'm in there deep. Alex is there deep. Jesse and all kinds. The world is getting deep. But like when you think about it, it's one of the stuff that even got me started on this is the suppression of energy, which we're gonna get to in a sec. But the rabbit hole is so deep. There's no point in turning back now. It's so much stuff that's happening, and I predict in a few months to a year tops, they're gonna try stage stuff. Deep crud is gonna happen, and then, what do you think?
Was that a question? I'm sorry.
What do you think? Like, because in a year tops, deep.
I don't think this year's going to end before we begin to go into the spin cycle. No,
I'm saying lots of stuff's going to happen. Come on, they took over the internet. They want to force inoculate. They want to. Now they got Texas as an enemy, and there's some kind of a June, some kind of drill, and that's to prepare for martial law. Texas won't go along with it, so it's considered a red. It's some kind
Well,
of.
I would caution, and
It's called the
again,
Jade Helm 15 drill. It's a martial law drill, and in case you don't even know it, it has to do with training for martial law. And he has a mark with the states that will go along, marked in blue. The states that are red. So far, Texas is one of the only ones. Then it's marked red, and they're the target. You know, you got even something like ODGX2 for Utah, ODGX5, whatever those letters mean. I don't know if you can understand. Anyone who's listening could probably understand this kind of military stuff. But that's what's going on the map. It's even on Google Images. When first Alex said it, I thought it was completely bonkers when he said it. But when I saw that Texas marked red, that guy's not freaking joking. It is marked red. And and so they want to invade Texas, apparently. And
well, good luck.
yeah, it's not
That may be the last state in the union you want to invade. They may go down, but they'll go down with a damn good fight in Texas.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't read it before. It was something about ODGX4, ODAX8, MSOTX1, NSWTUX1, GOAX event, CRF event. It's all in circles like a map. You're planning how to do this drill, how to invade. Do you know anything about these codes that I'm saying? This is
No, I don't know much about the codes, but I will say that these drills could go live at any time. That's what we saw with 9/11.
I'm telling you, if somebody of that stupidity is president, we deserve anything that you get. Nuke, war, the whole 9 yards. We deserve it all. If we vote for these people, if we know what's going on in the country, we deserve everything we get.
Oh, you get no argument from me on that one.
Right?
Right, exactly.
We deserve everything we get. Because all you have to do is just look it up, and if people don't want to do that, I'm just one man trying to help stop this. Alex is one man, Jesse, Ron, all the other good people. Duncan is one man, you're one man. But what more can we do?
Well, you got to wake up other people, which is the point of this conversation today, Chris. I mean, this is a college radio station, and hopefully a few people will hear this. And even if they think that maybe I'm a certifiable nutbag on one level, what they'll hear is me saying that you need to wake up, and you need to wake other people up, and you need to understand that humanity's worth fighting for, as Duncan has often said, but humanity itself has to stand up on its own hind feet and begin to wage the battle.
So exactly what would happen when humanity actually wakes up? It's going to be like mass protests, regardless how that goes. I'm just saying possible outcomes. There's going to be mass protests all over the place.
Having lived through, as a child, the 60s and 70s, look, protest at the end of the day is nothing more than complaining with a placard. What it requires is to seriously prepare for these things that are going to happen, and then let the powers that be know that to whatever degree possible, we will resist. We will resist you if you try to vaccinate us. We will resist you if you try to put us into camps. We will resist you if you put meters on our houses. In other words, you've got to stand up and you've got to let these people know that they're not going to screw with you anymore.
Of course, you got to defend yourself. Somebody asked me if a cop, they don't have to be, was it a bill or a law? You don't have to be, or a policy. It's they don't even want to explain what it's policy. You just say it's policy, and that's it. They shut you down. So you don't have to even be a certified doctor to apply vaccines. The moment a cop gets shot, I'm not saying that should happen, but if that were to happen hypothetically, that's when the media is gonna go haywire, because people are not joking. Some people will shoot no matter what. I don't know if you ever heard a story on Charles Sprinkle. He's a guy that would probably do that if he felt his life was threatened. Rest in peace. But
well, they've certainly been killing enough of us. And let me put something else out to you, my friend. These police officers are private security guards working for corporations. None of them are constitutionally mandated law officers, peace officers.
You don't even have to have a high IQ to be a police officer.
Well, you don't want a high IQ with a police officer. You don't want people who can think very hard.
Oh boy, that is no joke. Because I know some people who are cops. They probably think I'm just for saying that.
Well, I mean no disrespect towards the good ones out there, but frankly, the good police officers out there need to get rid of the vermin that are walking around wearing uniforms and driving around in squad cars now.
I think like it could be like we have to. I was speaking to Michael Cargill. He has the Central Texas Gun Works. It's a gun shop, and he also teaches classes. He believes that everybody should be educated, and also you shouldn't call someone whether sheep or whatever. You just have to try to educate them, and no matter how skeptical they could be, you gotta try to back yourself up, of course. And no matter how crazy it is, you gotta be able to question everything. And not be afraid to question, because they could insult you, but the moment something were to happen, they're gonna remember that.
That's right. You you just give them your truth and move on. There's a lot of people that need to hear the truth, and they may not receive it now. They may wake up later on. That's all you can do.
Yep. And as far as we're going to get to suppress resources, I've been told that medicine or energy, this is deep stuff when it comes to suppressed resources. Some people go to jail. I've had Paul Pantone on, and he said he was in a mental hospital in Utah. He got out there. It was like lucky that some congressman that got him out, helped get him out of there, because they were about to be exposed, so they had to let him go. And then he never got reelected. They can't kill him because he's high profile, but they just kill your reputation, so you're not reelected. We never even finished the conversation, sadly, because we were getting to the good stuff. And there was a video where it was somewhere a History Channel. I don't know if you watched the channel much. But it's not in this country that it's allowed. It's more somewhere like in South America, let's say Brazil. The video I saw was in Brazil, and it says Power Documentario History Channel. This was not aired in the U.S. They will not air this in the U.S.
Right,
I wonder
right.
why. And so this is, oh wow, what do you expect? Well, wow, the video has been removed by a user. I don't know what happened to that. Maybe they tried to hack his account. You can't find the video. That's just some link someone gave me.
Yeah, when you find stuff like that now, download it, put it on a hard drive, put it on a flash drive, because it'll get disappeared tomorrow.
Course, yes, he even told me that some stuff that he was trying to put any stuff that has to do with a geographic on ice or anything like that, and Google would disappear it. And now it's pretty hard to find it on Google to begin with. And this is Portuguese. Let's see, I think I got it in parts. It's Power Documentário History Channel Parte 1. And I don't know if you can hear it.
Em jogo e, portanto, muitos interesses. A cobiça teria impedido o maior desenvolvimento
It's in
tecnológico.
Portuguese. You can hear it, right? Let's see, there's some CEOs of Mexico, Brazil, or Argentina that help around. And it's talking about Gallo, T. Henry Moray, Nikola Tesla. I'm trying to find the part where it's Paul Pantone. And he's admitted. I didn't believe him at first. I apologize. And now I believe him. Oh, brother. It talks about Stanley Meyer.
Yeah,
Paul
yeah.
Pantone. It's in part 5. I saw by the thumbnail.
Stanley Meyer propunha o uso de simples adaptador para abandonar os hidrocarbonetos por completo. Através de processo de eletrólise.
It starts on like a mirror.
É hoje, sem sombra de dúvida, o mais moderno, o mais, tecnologicamente falando, o mais completo. Talvez nas próximas Copas do Mundo e Olimpíadas e etc., isso possa ser incorporado nos novos estádios.
Now here's Paul Pantone.
Segundo se fala sobre Paul Pantone, quando ele criou seu processador multicarburantes, JIT, se viu rapidamente angustiado por uma série de manobras legais para acabar com seu...
That part you hear is him in court going to jail, and the judge like, oh, the law doesn't belong in my court. We have scumbag judges like that, and the judge has immunity. Of course, he's not gonna get in trouble. Same with Irwin Schiff. The law does not belong in my courtroom. We have to fire these people if possible, whenever possible.
That's
Definitely.
It's a complex subject, but they're right. The law doesn't belong in their courtrooms because their courtrooms are private commercial law. They are not constitutionally mandated courts of law and equity for human beings. They're corporate courts. So, unfortunately, that judge was completely correct.
And this is, I'm going to go right to 713 here, where it shows according to the Patent and Trademark Office, since he didn't sell out, they had to protect him.
Transformaria sua vida em inferno.
Schematic he had.
So I called the same newspaper.
I was getting to this part of Paul Pantone, but he had to go apparently, and I'm going to try to get him on again. This part he's saying.
TV reporter up at the news station, and I said, I have a story better than yesterday's. I've got ex-governors and I've got other people on tape recorded phone calls threatening my life. They're going to murder me if I try to pursue my dreams.
I was trying not to
lose Pantone, I don't know anybody that would like to cover that story, because if we do, we will never have a job again.
Angry when I heard that.
O dinheiro da conta dele desapareceu misteriosamente. Durante os anos seguintes, várias propriedades de seu negócio imobiliário foram vandalizadas. Paul Pantone conta que posteriormente receberia um novo telefonema aterrador. Com o apoio de seu filho, resolveu fazer frente a muitas das ameaças e impedimentos legais que puseram.
Is even show his father? I think like kicked him out of the house. Yeah, they're gonna kill you, man. Get out of the house, and they probably kicked him out, probably.
Em seu caminho, mas ainda não sabia que o pior estava para acontecer. A história diz que
here we have somebody like Victor Solmi. He's the president of Hidrogeno Solmi. It's an Argentine company, and it goes for a few more minutes, but it doesn't talk that much on him. But at first, I didn't believe on Paul Pantone, and like he started to get a little upset. But fortunately, his colleague was able to bring me to my senses, and yeah, he showed me the link. It's crazy. I don't know when I'll be able to have him on, because he teaches. And here's the thing, when it comes to suppressed resources, 20% over Unity, you have to remember this. 20% over Unity, you could also ask Duncan about this. 20% over Unity cannot pass 120% over effectiveness. It cannot be more than that, otherwise it's NSO classified material. You could increase your car, how much gallons to get, you could double that, but don't expect to, let's just say, be alive if somebody sees a video of you running a car on 180,000 mileage. That's for the science part. One more thing about the Stanley Meyer. I was also told by High Level that he's active too. That Stanley Meyer, they were gonna offer $1 million, and some kind of stuff he was getting into, he didn't buy it, so they poisoned his cranberry juice with the uranium. They poisoned his cranberry juice. His brother is low key because he wants to stay alive. That's for the science part. For the medical part, Hoxie with the 17 clinics was closed down. Gerson in Austria and Mexico, where they have the Gerson clinic still. There's also the Bob Beck. There's also MMS. There's also Alpha Omega. This is the suppression of the medicinal. So, this is crazy. This is what I had to think about when it comes to talking to people. And this is off air. Some people won't come on, and so I won't mention about that. But this is the general part. You could check it out. The Alpha Omega part, the FDA raided the guy's lab. So fortunately, in Ecuador, they tried to kidnap him, and fortunately, he's back there with his family. Oh boy, Randy, you there?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Now I sound even more nuts. And people are like, oh, Chris, you're retarded. What? That's the thing. You can look up every single thing I just said. Write it down. Look it up. Ask Duncan about it. I'm not joking. So, I know. I'll let you take it in. Yeah, it's a lot of info, and it's all vetted. I'm not exaggerating or anything like
that. So, Chris, where's the college that we're broadcasting from today?
It's from WSPR at St. Peter's University. I haven't been on live recently, but I'll try to get on live probably in the next few months. I'll be back in the fall. So,
well, if you get this message out, here's the final word from me today.
Oh yeah.
Your generation is the last generation. It is your generation that needs to wake up and wake up everybody else. And humanity has one chance, and it is in your hands, in the hands of your generation. A lot of us have been fighting for a long time. We need fresh blood. So we need you guys, the people who are 18 to 30 years old, to begin to take over the battle here. And I hope that I'll be around long enough to see you guys prevail against the New World Order.
Don't worry, if I try anything on you, bro, I'll know. You know, even stuff on, I've talked to Wolfgang a while back. I had him on, and he didn't want to say the details, but I'll let you know that even off air. Any stuff, because he's not giving up on the Sandy Hook thing. But if anything were to happen, no death is natural. No death is natural, man. As far as like when it comes to exposing this, if anything were to happen to you or me, heart attack gun, black vans, and discussion. You know, that's what I would tell people. Am I missing something? Am I right?
Right. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, hey, look, we're all gonna cash in our chips someday. That much is true. I hope to do mine on active duty, and hopefully not at the hands of some mercenary, but because it's just my time to go.
By the way, do you have your show on daily, right?
Oh no. Right now we're running once a week. I'm getting ready to launch.
Yeah.
Onto a new network called Conscious Consumer Network, CCN, and that will be on Wednesday nights, which is 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and it is 1:30 a.m. Thursdays GMT for those who are on other continents. So that'll be weekly. So that'll be video.
So the Conscious Consumer Network, you created it or you work with it?
This is a network that I'm joining. The Conscious Consumer Network is out of the Netherlands, and I've been extended the opportunity to put OffPlanet TV on their network.
If it's somewhere in the Netherlands, you would think like the elite, the Dutch elite would be in on this, but I'm sure they listen and they want some freedom too. And also don't forget Germany. In a few other countries, it looks like the elite are in on this, but in a way, they want freedom and prosperity.
We're all one people, man. We're all one people. It doesn't matter where we are geographically. It's one planet, one people, and we got to start looking at it that way.
Oh, by the way, you were silent when I was telling you all this stuff about suppressed energy. I thought you were just. You were stoic. I don't know.
What when you were doing what?
I was telling you about the suppressed energy, and you didn't talk for like 5 minutes. So I thought you left.
Oh, well, you were running a clip there.
Yeah, you could look that up too.
Yeah, but I couldn't talk over it. I just shut my mic down.
Oh, I wouldn't mind if you did it because
I don't understand it. I don't speak that language.
And fortunately there's like subtitles, but you could ask Duncan on this suppression, and maybe there's even more stuff. I might even have people that could talk about clean sewage systems. I have one guest for that. Clean sewage systems, trying to make water perfectly pure. There's another one possibly.
I've seen it done. But you can actually use living plants to do that, to purify water back from gray water and sewage water.
So
Absolutely.
it tastes like nothing, right? Like perfect water. So, and you could probably heal yourself from if you have any disease or anything. You can actually get rid of it, possibly with water in a way.
Yes, called structured water. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Oh, this you'll never hear in the science books, guys. So take your
No,
note
but there are people out there. If you just go look up Easy H2O3 structured water, and you will come to a website of my friend Jeff Harvey, and you can learn all about how water can actually be structured in a way to do complete healing. I not only know about this, but I've actually used it. So I can tell you that we have the technology right now to restructure water in a way that it will penetrate our cellular walls and begin to rehydrate our bodies. Everybody on the planet right now is massively dehydrated, so that's actually one of the causative agents that has to do with cancer and dementia and all these other diseases.
The doctor will be like, "Oh, I don't know about that. I was at the doc today, and he wasn't a doctor. He was more like a specialist. And I was telling him about the vaccines, and he's like, the vaccine's supposed to help you. So they're going along with the official story. I know deep down inside, that guy, he's not a dumb guy. He's a very smart guy. So they're just going along with the official story, these doctors. What was that guy's name? James Harvey?
Jeff Harvey, JEFHARVEY. It's jefftech.net.
And I assume he's not in the U.S. though.
No, actually, he is just north of me here in Pennsylvania.
Wait, are you referred to Glenn De La Rosa? I don't know if you heard of someone named Denny Klein. He knew Denny Klein. Unfortunately, passed away a long time ago. But he was with the sewer systems. I'm gonna try to get him on. And oh man, the so much suppressed stuff that, and like this could be probably even more important than sports entertainment. This is life or death. We're trying to increase our health. That way they can't force you to have, buy from Big Pharma or the oil companies or the whatever. So we gotta learn to depend on ourselves. We can't depend on the government. We can't depend on anybody. We gotta depend on ourselves. And he's got all kinds of stuff. We're all in this together. Jeff Tech Research, something.
Yep, there's the link in your Skype chat. jefftech.net. Mm-hmm. And somebody ought to get a hold of Jeff Harvey and get him on for an interview.
I'll try to get him on.
All right. Hey, I gotta jump off here. I'm kind of pressed for time this afternoon. Yeah. So
all right. If you ever want to come on again with Duncan, I'm on in the fall. So just
okay.
Right,
let's stay in touch then.
Overall, thank you for being on, Randy.
Thank you for having me on, and I really enjoyed the conversation today with you, Chris. It's been wonderful.
All right. Well, see ya.
Take care, my friend.
Thank you. You too. Inhale all this, guys and girls, no matter what you look like. Try to take it all in. This is this is spiritual stuff. I'm not a normal religious person or spiritual person or rocket scientist either. But you can analyze this. It's so suppressed. It's stuff that can help you. People don't even know about it. That's the irritating part. It's the very frustrating part. But don't worry. I'm sure we will turn things around as a humanity. It's only one life we have, and all this stuff. Wow. And your mind would also go, like, it feels like blank because your mind's being open. Forget the books, guys. Forget what you've been told. Forget your indoctrinations. You will think. Think for yourself, no matter what anybody tells anything or says about you. Think, guys. Think. We can all help change humanity together. Okay, so Remember, it is all up to us. All right?